So I'm with Secure IQ Lab. We are a cloud security validation laboratory. And in discussing the new era of testing cloud security, I think it's important to step back a little bit and look at some of the forces or the drivers for moving to the cloud and the security challenges that contribute to the cloud security gap that we're seeing. So, we can't talk about testing cloud security without getting into the current state of cloud security. And unfortunately, there is an obvious cloud security gap that is currently present. We hear horror stories in the world of cloud security about misconfigurations, about security breaches, and all these things that customers, enterprises, governments having issues with cloud security. And these are just some of the examples, unfortunate faces of the reality of the complexity of moving to the cloud and keeping everything secure. So when moving to the cloud, it's not like you have to throw out everything that you started with in terms of the fundamentals of security. In the state of enterprise security, traditional security and cloud security are both based on, your architecture, having proper asset identification, data protection, and working towards automation. It's tempting to go over on the right and look at the differences, but when we're thinking about testing, we're looking at the commonalities and the things that carry over in these four fundamental areas. So this just covers now some of the traditional security that we are all moving to the cloud. And if you look, the reasons or the drivers here for moving these security products to the cloud, you've got the minimal management requirements. You've got the shifting areas of responsibility. We want to focus on what we're good at. We don't want to have to focus on everything else. And thanks to COVID-19, we've greatly accelerated the vanishing perimeter. So with these in mind, we're looking at a growing cloud security gap. And if you're looking on the right, you'll see we've got the testing firms, and they're looking at finding solutions in an ideal situation. And over on the left, we've got the analyst firms who then provide visionary solutions to this growing problem. So our perspective when looking at testing is to look at the enterprise workflows and focus on workflow mapping, the optimization of validation and workflow mapping. We want to know what are the use cases for cloud security, what are the workflows and workloads that need protection. And so our goal in our approach to cloud security is to bridge the gap between ideal and visionary and bring that together for reality. So to understand some of the challenges, we need to look at changes that are going on in the threat landscape. With the distributed workforce, we're seeing an uptick in security incidences. And these challenges to our customers influence the kind of testing that we have to do. We need to consider the changing threat landscape when we're developing testing for cloud security. And as the enterprises are dealing with these difficulties and watching others, we've got the questions that they're coming up with that need to be solved for. When we do our testing, we need to help them answer the question, am I more or less secure? And what is my risk exposure when moving to the cloud? So that they can make the business decision that they need to when moving to the cloud. And before we get into any more details about the testing, just want to cover a very high-level market overview of the cloud situation. And the takeaway here is that there is growth no matter what security product that you're looking at. So now that we've talked about the market, the landscape, and let's talk about some of the cloud risks that we're hearing from our customers and seeing in the environment. So these are some of the risks that we need to consider for when doing our cloud testing. And some of these are, triaged more important than others because of the COVID-19 situation and how that's pushed us into a more distributed workplace environment. Now, with the risk in mind, here are some of the challenges that we're now seeing. These are specific challenges to the cloud. And a lot of it has to do with the disappearance of the perimeter. So with the risks and challenges in mind, we did a poll of 1,500 cloud practitioners. Not a rigorous poll, but it was conducted during a Zoom meeting, and we found out their plans to migrate to the cloud and their challenges, and these are the results. So as you can see, the one or few existing applications and later more is already at 50% migration. So that leads us to the concerns that we're seeing specifically with our customers. And a big one is the CI/CD pipeline and the lift and shift, as well as cloud workload protection. So how do we test all this? When we're looking at how we test everything, let's take an AWS example here for shared security responsibilities. And when we're looking to evaluate something in the cloud, from an evaluation perspective, the takeaway when we're looking at the shared responsibility model is that in order to understand if an app is protected, we have to look across all the layers of the platform. We can't just look at the top level. We have to look at all 4 layers. There's overlapping of the responsibility, and so we have to devise a test that incorporates this into the results that we provide. Now, in cloud-based security, the way we look at testing public and hybrid cloud security is a SaaS IaaS model. So if we're looking over at SaaS, we'll see CASB. When we're looking at cloud risk management, and then we're looking at the infrastructure as a service when we're considering our testing. And here we've identified cloud workload protection as heavy interest to enterprises for testing. And so we didn't bore you with the details of the other areas. We're just going to zoom in a little bit more in cloud workload protection and for provisioning security controls for the cloud workloads. Now, we're not reinventing the wheel when we're going about our testing. As Gartner has already provided some good oversight in the area of testing and breaking this apart, we're using this in our testing, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We're not going to claim we're the smartest people in the room. We're going to use what's available and build on that. So this is the industry standard from which we're building a lot of our testing. And then from our research, these are what we've come away with in terms of the vendors in the area, as well as the key features that we need to validate and test in the new era of cloud testing. The programmability for APIs and the orchestration, big area for making sure that those areas are protected. Now, with that in mind for cloud workload protection, there are a few of the other areas that we've seen as a priority for also testing, and then just some of the features that we need to validate, or some of the areas or risks or concerns that we need to make sure that we're testing in the cloud. And so for lift and shift apps, and then for existing apps, what are some of the testing that we need to do? And then also just covering last area here that we thought we should bring up today. This is basically what organizations want to talk about and understand their risk. So these are the areas that we're looking at heavily this year. And this is all to reduce the risk for enterprises' cloud mitigation strategy. And with that, thank you for your time, and see if there are any questions.